Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sex Talk with Ayana the Model, your host. And today we are...
Hey y'all,
Lord Jesus. Today we're here with the Sensual Poet. Thanks guys for tuning in. I guess you can...
Or
I think it's going to be too much reverb, isn't it? Yes. Girl, I think go. This is what we're going to do. You can...
We learning, y'all. Hold on a second.
use this to, let us know what questions are being asked so that I can't see anything on here. Welcome. Hello there. We are here. This is your host, Ayana the Model, here with another episode of Sex Talk. This is episode 30 with the Sensual Poet.
It is on.
Thank you, guys.
I came sexy for y'all today.
We have Éugenie in the background who's going to let us know any questions that pop up. So if you guys write anything in the comments, if you have any questions, any concerns, anything that you have, she's going to let us know because I'm blind and I can't see anything from where I'm sitting. So, we're here.
What's poppin'?
We're gonna start with a brief introduction. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. We're trying to get our lives together. So we're gonna start with... We're gonna start with the Sensual Poet telling us a tidbit about herself, and then we will continue with the sex talk questions. So, the Sensual Poet, who are you?
Who am I? Petey Paw, motherfucker. No, I'm the Sensual Poet here, jazzing up your lives, your vibes today. My name also is Melanie, Melanese for those that know me. I am Dirty 30 this year, so it's extremely fun to be doing the 30th episode of the podcast with Ayana while we're both 30. So we're going to get into it because we got accumulated life experience now. We a little seasoned now. We got a little season as adults, and I'm here to have a good time. So I came dressed to impress for y'all. I came ready to chit chat, and we're going to get it popping. So why don't you reintroduce yourself for the people so they know?
Hello. Who am I? So my name is Ayana the Model, also known as Ayana James Stevenson is my full name, if you must know. I am your wonderful host for Sex Talk. This is episode 30. I am a sensual muse, a podcast presenter. I also am a recent filmmaker and a performer. I consider myself a Renaissance woman, and I love all things relationships. And because I'm so connected to healthy relationships and I consider myself a healthy relationship advocate, I figure that I should really get into relationships of all sorts. And one of the biggest relationships that we have with ourselves and other people that is not really talked about is sex. So with the relationship of sex, I want it to be not only conversations of what's your favorite position, but also conversations of what's your biggest fears and how has things changed from then and now? What things do you know about your sex life that you know now that you wish you knew then? Things that are more in depth, that create more of substance around something that is so surface level, shown everywhere, but has no depth in a lot of media, in a lot of ways that we see it. So let's get right into it. And the question that I ask everyone starting off with Sex Talk is, what is your relationship to sex?
Ooh, what is my relationship to sex? Okay, none of these responses are planned. This is us speaking conversation off the dome.
Yeah. So
my relationship to sex is that it gives me a chance to just explore, give myself an opportunity to get real freaky and intimate with who I'm with. I have a high value in being able to share that time explicitly with who I'm with. And also, it gives me an opportunity to just tune out, relax, have fun. So I see sex as a very fun, explicit, grown and sexy experience. It would be no wonder why Jodeci is one of my favorite bands, because certain things like that just speak to me.
Was sex always fun for you, or has that changed over time? And if it has, how has it changed?
Sex always intrigued me. I guess, you know, I don't remember when I saw my first porn, but I remember it was accidentally at a young age, and I was curious about, you know, why it looked like it hurt, but then there was so much pleasure. Like, it just seems like, it's that weird thing, you know, kids here, so I'm keeping it real with y'all, keeping it raw. So it's like, it was one of those things that's like, this is intriguing, like, it's scary, but I want to know more about, like, why people do it. Why is it so taboo? Then the older I got, and the more I got to explore more of, like, okay, it's associated with pleasure, and what pleasure meant to me as I got older, it was like, I just wanted to, you know, further explore, like, how that could, you know, be a part of my world. And then, you know, from there, I was just like, I want to be more in tune with how I can make this creative and fun. And for me, sometimes it's a little bit like the Olympics. I'm trying to see who can do, who gonna outlast one another. It's bad with me. I'm not gonna hold you.
That doesn't sound bad at all. I think you are using the wrong word there. That is very interesting. Yeah. Did you always have these pleasurable experiences? I guess once you realized what sex was, once you got a little bit older, having that exposure to pornography at a very young age, and then getting into like, okay, I was confused then, but I'm in the know now. Has it been like mostly, if not in totality, like those pleasurable experiences that you know sex to be, or was that also something that shifted for you?
I'm gonna say this. Sex is something that, when I first got to explore it as something that I wanted to do with someone, it was very nerve-wracking. It was overwhelming. I felt like it was more performative than it was enjoyment to start. And I think that was a trend that continued for a while because, you know, I'm comparing it to what I had seen in porn or how it had been discussed around me. So it was always like, how can we create the scene where, you know, you've gone on for hours and hours until you just can't anymore, and then it's like you're done, and, you know, the lovey-dovey kind of Google eyes with each other and bedroom talk, right? Always wanting to recreate that moment, always wanting to emulate that. And then, keeping it real, it's not always like that. You know, some people tap out a little early. Some people tap out a little early, or in the many experiences I've had to be able to, you know, really enjoy that person's company, really valuing the intimacy that you build with one another. Like, there is an energy exchange through sex, and I'm pretty sure you would be in tune with this, you know, unpacking this topic. There's an energy exchange that happens with sex, and there's something so relieving and powerful when I'm channeling the energy of sharing that intimate space with someone that, you know, helps me to carry a very intimate feeling in the moment and experience with it, where I don't feel like I'm being used. And you can feel that. You can feel the difference. There's a certain care and regard that they have for your body in that space that just makes me feel all the more powerful, all the more open and more sexual.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
I think that what we are talking about first and foremost is safety, right? It's like, how do you feel safe? What makes you feel safe? And who is it that's making you feel safe? And what can come out of that safety? And when you are safe, there's so much that comes out of that. I think that sometimes people talk about the repercussions of having the absence of safety instead of the foundation of what can make this person feel safe. Because anything can happen when safety is in the conversation. And it makes it so that we are able to be our full selves in our safe selves. And I don't know if everyone is like really tuned into that fact. So I think the people who make you feel safe are not internally maybe thinking consciously like, hey, this is what I do to make her feel safe, but it can read from all the actions that they're doing that makes you feel that way. And then it also, in turn, you know, if you're complaining about someone not being as open, not being as sexual, not showing their full self, they're really hiding, you know, they have a lot of shame behind this stuff, you're probably not making this person feel the most safe. Because if you were, a lot of those things will naturally shed away, even with so much like trauma and like compounded negative experiences that a lot of people have connected to those things. And also, when it gets to like, when you spoke about sex being nerve-wracking and sex being something that wasn't the most comfortable at first, and then also the discrepancy between feeling good and feeling used, is there any time frame that those things happen for you? Is there any like age that those shifted, any mindsets that happened, or any things that like triggered a certain need or want for you that kind of like changed the way you were experiencing it at a certain time? Like, was there a pivotal point for you?
That's a good way of putting it. So now that I'm 30, you know, in the seasoned people's club, I would say the duration of my 20s built a lot of perspective for me. So first, it was just, you know, navigating, still exploring and learning what sex was, what you can do in sex, what your limits are. So there's that portion that, you know, I was going through a lot in my early 20s. And then once I got more adjusted or, you know, situated with what I liked, then it was like, okay, how do I get that satisfaction of what I like with whoever I'm with? Because I haven't been in a serious relationship like really since really just one in my life, and I barely count that because it ended in disaster. So I had to explore that with people that were not my partners, and the nerve-wracking kind of sentiment came from that. It was like, there were a couple people that in my heart of hearts, if I had had the opportunity to be in a relationship with, we would have been in a relationship with, and I would have wanted to see what that intimacy building when we had sex looked like, but it didn't happen like that. So I found myself sitting in tune with, how do I continue to cultivate my sense of liberation, that I'm not putting myself in a relationship to be sexual with someone just because I feel like I need to have someone stuck with me, or because I'm lonely. I could be bad by myself, you know? So the duration of my 20s really put a lot into perspective, and I won't say that I have it all together figured out either, what that true intimacy looks like with someone that I'm like, this is my established partner, this is who I rock with, but yeah, that would be some of my thinking.
We have a question.
Yes, we have a question. What is the question?
Okay, so Komato Said Dreaming said, should men respect themselves more and be more selective when sending out pics?
When sending out penis pics?
Yeah, phallic organ photos.
I thought this was going a different way. I thought that you're gonna be like, can we be more selective in like the sexual partners that we have? And so you're like, when I send a dick pic, should I be thinking of who I send it to? Yes. Yeah, the short answer is yes. Let's get back to the conversation.
Like, damn, I don't know where we were supposed to go with that comatose dreaming, but
right.
I know.
The short answer is yes. So me and you have semi-similar experiences where I think like my last also terribly disastrous relationship was probably like the most long-term relationship that seemed the most serious in ways of me like living with a partner and moving with a partner and all those things. Yeah. But the majority of my sexual experiences have come from people who are not committed to me in a long-term experience, but is completely committed in the experience that we're sharing together. And developing that relationship with them when it comes to that comfort, that safety, and that intimacy is something that I find to be present. And so are there any steps or any particular actions that you take in order to feel more intimate with a partner who is not your singular partner, who is not your exclusive partner, since you really haven't had any of those experiences like for a while now? Yeah. And if so, what are like the intimacy kind of factors that you have or that you kind of practice when you're with them?
Sure, intimacy building blocks, right? So I would say I'm a Gemini, so I'm very easily stimulated by conversations where we're being, you know, we're able to talk about a range of things. I'm intellectually stimulated, which then, stimulates me sexually, right? So I really value carving out time. If I hold a lot of time with you, I consider that intimate time in talking and conversing with you, because I'm a person that loves understanding people, the way that they think, the way that they view things. And of course, there's going to be different points in time where you don't always align on something, but I don't mind duking it out a little bit. It gives us a chance to flesh out where we've built perspective. So intellectual stimulation and conversation is very important to me. Also, sometimes you gotta put people in position to show and prove. So, I can talk with anybody, anybody can DM me, text me, whatever, but I want to see you put what you say into practice. So if you want to woo me, I want to see what wooing me really looks like in the form of, okay, so you want my time and attention as well. You should put yourself in position to want to be in different spaces with me. And I feel like that allows me to learn more about the person too. I can't help but be a little bit analytical as a Gemini, where the different contexts that we're in, I think, relates to your energy and the dynamic that we share. And then it also gives me cues, in terms of that more intimate or sexual compatibility, how you handle yourself in different situations, whether it's being fun and goofy. I love having a good time, where I can laugh with you and really kick it and just cool it, or we're doing something more adventurous. We're exploring different senses of self to see how each other can show up, because I think that also translates to how, it's interconnected with sex. There isn't a specific way you have to do it every time. And what that looks like in those contexts is you just being in tune with what you want in that moment and sharing that with who you are with in that moment. And I have had relationships that may not have been exclusive, but nonetheless, I've cultivated those relationships over the years. But it really, taught me a lot about what I needed to know in terms of being ready for whoever I'm going to share a long-term commitment with. Yeah.
Okay. I think that also being with someone in those spaces, like you mentioned, wanting someone to A, take initiative, and B, put you in different spaces where you can read them in different ways for different things, just sets in intention. It's what do you want from me? How much time are you willing to put into me? And what about this time is going to allow me to understand who you are to me or who you could be? And yeah, it's extremely important. I feel like intentionality is something that should be the foundation of sex, and it's not for a lot of people because it's either very transactional or it's very rooted in just pleasure and that's it. Maybe one-sided pleasure. So the reason why sex talk is important is to talk about relationships, as I mentioned before, and a relationship is something that takes two or more people, but everyone involved in a relationship must be active in the relationship. So I like that. I like that it is also really lighthearted for you. I like that intimacy is built with just getting along and camaraderie and smiles and laughs and really intellectual stimulation. For me, I'm a demisexual and a sapiosexual. A demisexual is someone who needs an emotional connection. A sapiosexual is someone who needs intellectual stimulation. And I'm both of those things. So I'm also not lustful, which is very different than most people. I know some people can see somebody and be like, "Oh, they're so fine."
It's true.
And me, I'm they were a beautiful specimen, but
it's true.
Can I have some cookies? There's no immediate connection of sex in my mind when viewing someone, because it takes so much to build up that stamina and arousal for me. So I like how that is definitely something that is intentional, and it may come with age too, because I remember when it wasn't this deep, for me to connect with someone, you know. So I feel like growing is definitely a thing that kind of adds to intentionality when it comes to sex and sharing your body, and the importance and the seriousness of it. The younger you understand that, I think the easier and maybe the best relationships you end up having that happen to be more meaningful, I think. But maybe the older you understand that, you can have a little bit more fun when you're younger, but it just becomes more of, yeah, I know what I like, I know what things get me there, and I know that this is going to be unwavering regardless of, like you mentioned earlier, any sexual person that, you know, I end up sharing these things with, or any person I end up sharing these sexual experiences with, rather.
And it gets them to show up differently, too, because there's a lot of men in the world that are attracted to us, right? We could have a day where we're not even really dressed up like that. We walking down the street and somebody trying to talk to us, right? And that's not ego stroking, but that's just the reality of it. There are people that are attracted to us all the time. So for one, I take value within myself when I see someone and I'm like, okay, first you kind of caught my eye, but then also in engaging with me, just remember, like, there are a lot of people, men, women, you know, in between, that want to engage my energy. So how are you showing up for me? And I'm not even saying that a lot of men will be quick to go, oh, that's because the woman is trained to think about, you know, how a man may financially provide, you know, and stuff. And I see it as, no, I want to know, who are you showing up in front of me? Because there are a million men with all kind of profiles that want to engage my energy. So where's the distinction here? And sometimes it's been real. It's happened a few times in my life, just a few. So you engage someone where the energy that you share, there's an instant knowing that this is someone that you are open to welcoming in your life. And I would say, like, that's count of hand type of energy in terms of the amount of people I've ever engaged that way. And I take that seriously. So again, in those contexts, in those situations, and that's where the intentionality comes in.
How do you determine who engages with you sexually versus who engages with you intimately without any context of sex?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I would say, well, for one, it has to first be that I am physically attracted to you. That's very important, because for me, sex is built on the emotional and intelligence, you know, leaning connection to get me to the point of, like, opening the door, but also, like, it's a very physical experience that, you know, I realize I have a preference for what I like. So it requires me to be physically attracted to you. It requires a certain level of trust building that comes up. And I guess now that you say it, I'm connecting the dots a little more on how that is interconnected with safety, a sense of safety and comfort that you can have, even if it's just within that time and it's something that you're still figuring out with that person in general. That knowing, that feeling coming up is really important. Yeah, and I mean, it's also just paying attention to the other factors of who you are as a person, how you move, how you carry yourself. Because again, related to the fact that this is an energy exchange, I'm realizing that the kind of person that I am and show up as in the world has a way of distributing energy into the atmosphere. And that certainly happens in the most physical, intimate of moments. So there's a compatibility need that I realize in my better sexual experiences that has been a part of the equation. Yeah.
What would you consider to be your need in those ways?
So compatibility-wise, I mean, I value being with someone that, you know, sees me for the person that I am and appreciates me. And vice versa, you know, that's my extension to that person. That appreciates me for who I am, that, you know, regards my body as something that is, like, really sexy and really, you know, just like enjoyable in thinking about what sex would be like, what our sex is like. And it also relates to, I think, you know, I haven't really like been with too many bad boys. I haven't been with too many bad boys. It's kind of interesting. I do attract them a lot. I could have been a drug dealer's girlfriend a long time ago. I'm dead serious. But good-natured people, and I think that's again part of the energy read in the compatibility that I feel like I need, because my mother raised me to, you know, be a decent person and to be someone who comes into the world guns blazing with all the flair and energy that I need, but to still be a good person. So that resonates with me and is something that I crave.
We're getting a lot of people in the comments who resonate with the energy exchange of the jiggy jiggies.
Oh, the jiggy jiggies.
Tina says hi.
Oh, hey,
And Fancy Star people, if you want to ask a question, feel free to ask.
Feel free to ask. Yes.
Okay.
We
Glad
have some
y'all
questions
feeling that.
here. Let me see. All right. Mary. She says,
Hi,
what's
Mary.
your relationship to sex with yourself, i.e. masturbation? And what role does it play in your relationship to sex in general? It's a very good question. Thanks, Mary.
Is that for both of us?
I will answer. Excuse me. So I have a short film that was released the summer of 2021 entitled Sacred Energy Exchange, a personal story on polyandry, kink, and masturbation. And in the film, I do mention masturbation, the journey that I have, how I kind of discovered it when I was young, and then how it manifested in my life as an adult. So masturbation for me, as in sex with myself, which is the ending of the film, and it kind of hones in on like the story of sex really starting and beginning and ending with you. It has created more of a safe space for me in my own body, and it has made it so that what I feel about myself and how I feel about myself, how sexy I feel, how good I feel, how like aroused I feel, and how I can get to that point with myself. And in this case, I was doing mirror work, so getting to the point with myself in the mirror, it made it so that all the feelings is something I have to see in someone else in reflection of me when they are sharing my body with me as well. So I would say, because of my masturbation experience and because I had gotten to the point of where it felt natural and not gross and not disgusting and not shameful, it made it so that someone has to see my body as beautiful and not disgusting and not gross and not shameful, and celebrate my body in that way when I am engaging with them in sex. And it makes it so that the standard of my sexual experiences are a lot higher because of the standard with my own self.
That resonates with me so deeply. Like, first of all, I think masturbation is extremely important in our lives. Like I have to. It's also that's the other thing that comes with like being single, not being in a relationship with someone steadily. Not that I can't get sex when I want it, it's out there, you know, but I'm saying like, man, like it's an energy release that's needed. I'm a very sexual person. There are days where it'll be on my mind all day long, and I'm just like, damn, like if I could have it my way, someone's son or somebody's daughter would be getting it like all day long. So it's extremely important, and you're right. That comfort that you have with yourself, that sense of exploring what stimulates you and where your pleasure sensor, you know, really springs up from, is so empowering when you're in the bedroom with someone. And I would say, from, you know, another standpoint on it, it allows me to feel that I can have sexual experiences that are shaped by exactly what I want and are not dependent on someone else's time and energy. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of pressure that inherently, when we're with partners, we put on each other to deliver every single time, right? And like, I'm gonna always deliver. I'm gonna always deliver.
It's not an issue for me.
Listen, okay, so that has to be a necessity in everyone's life, and it further builds that comfort with your body. I find my body to be very sexy, even though right now I have some things that I want to work on health wise. I have a lot of comfort being by myself, naked. You know, when I be traveling, right? I be outside, so whenever I go travel somewhere, it's a pinpointed experience for me to be in my hotel room naked, to sleep naked. I only bring pajamas if I know I'm going to be around someone, or I may bring one pair of pajamas on the trip because I always think, what if there's a fire? Then I got some back at the door real quick. Yeah.
Hilarious. Do we have any more questions? If not, I definitely have some. Okay. So, how are we on time?
We're good. It's 12:35.
Oh,
We're
perfect.
doing good. We're doing good.
All
Also,
right.
hey y'all, I know I've been looking at the camera as much. It's just hard to not look at her.
Hello.
Because she got it.
Thanks. All right. So, we have some good questions here. One is about your zodiac sign. You mentioned you are a Gemini.
Oh, yes.
Has there ever been any myths that someone believes of you, particularly about your sex life, based on your zodiac sign? And if so, what was it?
That Geminis are wild, adventurous, freaky, go-getters in the bedroom. I would say y'all are right. Y'all are right. So I'm very in tune with that. I think that's part of the pride associated with my sign, being someone that, you know, can be, my energy can claim a room. I've been told that several times, right? And I feel like in sexual experiences, I aim to please and I also aim to be pleasured. So I have a comfort in, you know, doing whatever is necessary to reach peak, like,
Arousal,
climax and yes. So I'm a almost no holds barred individual when it comes to sex, with exception to maybe a couple of things. I don't know if you got a question around that, but if you don't,
I do.
then I could tell you what some of those no-goes are. But yeah, I'm pretty much down for whatever, any kind of position. I mean, it's also kind of fun too to think about, you know, the double side type of analogy that comes up, where it's funny, y'all. There are a lot of people at work that, you know, see my energy and they're like, yeah, she's real cool, down to earth, but I can't see her in the club. Little do they know. Like, literally, I've had that told to me, and it's like, yes, I know how to be myself. True to myself is I'm hardworking, I'm badass, and I care about people, and I want to make my mark in the world. And think about how that informs my legacy. And that's, you know, daytime Melanie. But at nighttime, I just want to scratch your back up and I just want to like roll your face. That's all.
And with that being said,
Fabio in the chat said the pressure of living up to the Scorpio myth. You know, what are the signs that get the most peer pressure to like living up in the bedroom?
I'm not going to hold you. Scorpio is one of my favorite signs.
oh,
Have always lived up.
same. They definitely have. It's interesting too. So, I don't know too much about zodiac signs, but I do know more than the average person. And when you talk about certain zodiac signs, there are of course certain core characteristics that associate with each sign, and then each sign has a shadow. But right now we're just talking about like the core characteristics that might aid some of the like positive connotations of the sign. So with Geminis, yes, it's that intellectualism, you know, it's that openness, really. And I think when you talk about Scorpios, that's really what it is. Like, Scorpios are a water sign, you know, Pisces and Cancers, I think they share the same sentiment as like being water, being go with the flow, being like easygoing. Now, they can be a tsunami and they can, you know, be like a tidal wave. But for the most part, they're just going along with like flowing with the rest of the waves that are a part of their body, you know? And like that creates an ease that makes it easy for people to not only show themselves, but also like show up as themselves and have the other person who's a water sign be like, okay, well, yeah, that's cool. We can go with that. And so there's just a lot more openness, you know? And I think that I haven't had too many Geminis in my lifetime, but every Gemini who I've met has been someone who has shared that connection of intellectualism with me in a way where I'm just like, do I love them? Like they're like, because of course I've always been an intellectual person, but I think that like there is such an emphasis on like the sapiosexual part of myself, especially when it comes to someone who I do deem attractive. So I've been meeting a lot of Geminis who just being like, the place in my heart that they reside. And I don't know too many of them in a sexual space, but I can imagine how just being in an open conversation can translate to an open space physically. Yeah. And so I think that like that's really what it is. You know, it's like the Scorpios, they're very open. Like they can get real in depth with you, especially since Scorpios, they rule, you know, some of the things that we consider dark. They rule like death, they rule sex, you know. They rule some of the parts of the shadow of selves that can be abused. But when it is transformative, because Scorpios are the sign of transformation, like they can be some of the most like far gone individuals because they're so in depth and they just have an understanding of all things balance in the world, all the dark and the light. And I think once they get to that space, it makes it easy for them to, be liberated and help other people become liberated too, because all the things that people are shying away from, death, drugs, sex, are things that once they understand, they can feel fully themselves in, you know.
And I think just building on that real quick, related to the topic, it's like once they've come to terms with realizing like they have innate understanding of life and people, it makes them quick to not trust. So I feel like when in building trust with someone that would be like a Scorpio, and this is not to make it a zodiac conversation, but to say in building trust with that person, then you unlock them more fully, right? And I feel like that is emblematic of a lot of people in the world. So signs aside, the trust building can really expose you to a whole nother layer of that person that person simply does not feel safe exploring or having. And I feel like when you have that, you cherish that and affirm that for them, so that it, you know, just in a platonic context, really allows them to be their full selves. And then in the, you know, sexual or intimate context, it really enables them, I feel, to like give you what you're looking for. I feel that so deeply.
Yeah, agreed. Any questions?
No, I think the zodiacs were going in. People started talking about the Chinese zodiac. We got some dragons in here. We got some Leos who are like, keep that Leo stigma away from me. It's good.
Okay.
Loving the interaction too.
Yes, thank y'all. So we have spoken about, I do see words. Is that a question?
Oh yeah, Fancy Star people said, thank you for using the hashtag Ayana Sex Talks. Do you pick your people based on the energy you feel, status, or looks?
That's a good question.
All right, I'll go this time. I mean, ranking, that's kind of tough, because I like thinking of people in packages that they are. But there's something about the way someone can feel where, without even knowing them for very long, can open a door within you. I've had that experience a few times with people. So I would say energy is very important. Looks do matter to me in terms of like sexual compatibility. So that's a very, very, very close second, both energy and looks, and status thereafter.
Yeah, for me, I want to say status does not matter at all, but, and I'm going to stick with that. Status does not matter at all, but I think that sometimes you can think about status in terms of someone's own standard of living, where they are in their life, and then that can reflect their energy. Like I think there's an idea of like someone's relationship to money, for example, that reflects abundance and positivity in their life, and like good energy and also good practice of who they are. And the accolades that they get because of those things can be a complete reflection of like who they are as a person in terms of their status. As well as, just because somebody has a whole lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that A, they have status, and B, that reflects who they are as a person that is positive. So I kind of want to say like that doesn't matter at all, but then again, if you think about it in the ways that I described it earlier, like maybe it does matter. So that's one. Number two, when it comes to looks, I have to be attracted to you. Doesn't matter what anyone else needs or has, I have to be attracted to you. But I will say that energy builds looks for me. So if I connect with someone and I enjoy them and I love them and I like them, I can become attracted to them where I'm looking at them like, I never thought he was cute, but now, you know, like, she looking a little good now. Just because I'm not lustful. So for me, I can recognize attraction in somebody, but it cannot build my attractiveness to somebody until the energy is there. So I would say that it's not either or, it is a combination of all three, and the status has to be there because status to me tells me that you are working on yourself and you are mindful of this, and like where you are in your life and your career is of equal connection and reflection to me, and that's very important. I've been with someone who was not on my status before, and it had nothing to do with what they were doing in terms of their entertainment or who knew them or how many names they could drop, but it did have something to say about where they were in their lives and how much they are or are not putting into where they are. And I should have never connected with that person because it does bring down my status. Even if no one else sees our relationship, it brings down like the energy that they're bringing into my life versus the energy that I'm bringing into my life. Like there's a mismatch when it comes to that. And I think that all three are very important. Some people put too much emphasis on the aesthetics of how a person looks. And I think that creates the emptiness of a physical connection, but I don't think that it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, 100%. And let me also interject that status inherently has the connotation of being very in your face, very front facing. And what I've come to learn, especially, you know, just early on in life where in my high school experience, my later high school experience, I saw folks that had $1 million homes down the block that showed up in a plain white tee and some jogging sweats. You'd be surprised, you know, how that further informs how we build and receive energy with people. So that's also why it's important for me to be attentive and channel what energy resonates with me about a person that, to your point, I mean, I'm going to just stick with that bar, can build the physical connection, for sure.
Yes. Thank you, Fancy Star people, for your amazing question. Please add more questions to the chat, add hashtag Ayana Sex Talks. We have a question from Samuel. I actually would love to hear your thoughts about this because, oh my gosh. What are your thoughts on cyber sex when your words are the only seductive tools? Frustrating or wonderful?
Oh,
that's really
cyber
cool.
sex. That's a very interesting question. So, what is your thoughts on cyber sex when your words are your only tools for sex? Should I go?
I mean, I can go.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna just say, cyber sex is a really cool way of just giving you the opportunity to control the space fully with energy alone, and it's, you know, it's not built on what's physically happening. It's not that it's not built on what's physically happening, but you're not having the physical interaction, right? So I feel like that can really signal your compatibility with one another, and your ability to be attuned to what your partner is seeking or what builds on your pleasure, which may, be the basis of hopefully what that person is experiencing with you. But yeah, like there are a lot of things that go on during sex beyond just the act itself. It's the intention of, okay, how do I want this to end? It's the intention of the design of it, right? And then it's also the talking in real time. I like chatting. Yeah. I like chatting. I'm real big on saying some kinky stuff when that ass is getting clapped or something, or if it's getting ate real well. I'm here to affirm and let you know how that feels. Okay. That matters to me as much as it would matter to you. So I would say that's the control that you have in the space. And there's definitely men that seek that. I'll say in the context of like a heteronormative sexual interaction. It's like there's men in particular in this conversation space that need that require that to know, like, okay, am I doing this right? There are men I've had the pleasure of having sex with that are very seasoned, that still seek that sense of like affirmation. Yeah, that's really what it builds on. And I think that enhances the real life sex experience. So if you can become a pro at cyber sex, you can take over people's lives.
So, great question. I would say I love words. So for me, this question is exciting because I love words. I love speaking them. I love writing them. I love reading them. I just love them. I love the fact that you can curate any and all experience with just words. So when you are thinking of curating a sexual experience like cyber sex with words as your only tool, nothing of that is annoying or daunting to me. I think that just the same way you need to be in a safe space with a physical sexual experience, you need to be in a safe space with a cyber sexual experience. There's going to be things that you're not going to be comfortable typing because it might be weird or it might be off, but if you have that connection with someone, you know what to say, and you're not going to feel no way about saying it. I think also when it comes to cyber sex, there is this really unique experience when all you have is imagination, which separates from the physical experience when what you have is exploration. Like you can find different things to do with the body when you're in a physical space, but when you are away from someone, you only have what you would want to do, your desires, your fantasies, like you're imagining the way your body will connect and what about your body is connecting. And then you really, unless you guys have had a conversation ahead of time, you really are putting things out there that is a part of your desire that might just only connect with someone else if they also desire these things. So it makes it so that like there is either a mismatch or like a total matchup of the words that you're speaking and how that works with the other person. I have had a long distance relationship, like connection with someone for like the past couple of months, and even though I have done this in the past, I haven't done this in a very long time. And so like my cyber sex experience as of now is something that I really cherish. It's also something that is very rare. Like we don't do it every other day because there is an essence of like what the sex is like with the buildup that will be lost if it's something that happens so frequently. So cyber sex also to me is like a rarity and like a high value item and experience as well. Which is just different than, maybe someone who does it for work, or maybe someone who does it all the time because their partner is away and their sex drive is like extremely high, and like maybe that to them is something that they consistently need. But I feel like it's something that is like very beautiful. I think it's like a very interesting and like, it's actually not that abnormal, but not the normal ways that people either speak or see sex, that has a lot of value.
Yeah, and like when taking ourselves, you know, a little bit more abstract with this, our relationship with words is so powerful as social creatures. Intuitively, we are channeling like so much power in little words, that the significance that the space holds when you are exploring that type of stimulation with someone in a cybersex context is where I, you know, just further affirm, like, it's a really powerful experience to have, because that's you all being in tune with, you know, the effects you can have on someone and they're not even in the same room as you. So that has been something that has come up for me when I have had cybersex experiences with people as I'm continuing to build a relationship with them.
I think also how you mentioned, like, you're not in the same room with this person. So cybersex is also one of those things that is completely and totally energetic. And for someone like me, who is an energetic, erotic person, and can not only build, but be sustained, be completely enticed and aroused, and also reach climax separate from a physical experience, it heightens those things for us. I think also cybersex can be connected to, you know, reading different authorship on like different sexual experiences, and even getting into not only like Zane books of like sex stories, but also like anime sex, or like different things that really and totally kind of like connect to the imagination and create spaces for people who have a very hard time having physical sex with others, and also maybe not have the experience or even the opportunity based on where they are, how they show up to have a physical experience to still have sex. And I think that for that reason alone, it's like very important.
It can also reinforce the longing of the person too. And that's sometimes where my avoidance of cybersex will come in. Like there's been some times where I've not engaged in cybersex when it's been asked me with someone that, you know, I've been sexually involved with, because I'm like, no, I need you right now. I need you here. And you know, just further affirms like how physicality does tend to be an important component of what I think sexually drives us.
Yes, I think that like when it comes to cybersex, I don't want to say the end goal is physical sex, but the highest peak of you creating an energetic experience and making it into a physical one is something that is very high, you know? And if everyone had a choice and the person and the ideal, I guess, like result from that experience, like maybe that would be their choice, you know, and for good reason, you know.
Yeah.
So yes. Okay. We got 3 minutes apparently. All right.
You got me now since copy it, girl. What's up? Yes.
Do we have a final question, seeing as though we have 3 minutes still on the board?
Wow, the time has flown.
It always does. If not, I would have a final question for you.
One way or another, I'm here. So we're going to make the most of these last
I got some
minutes.
rapid fire questions for y'all if y'all want to play.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk to us.
Yes. Favorite color to wear in the bedroom is?
Black.
Red.
Top or bottom?
For who? For who? For me? I've become more liberated as of recent with being on top.
I was just about to say, you probably won't say top. I can see it.
I'm a bottom girl because I really enjoy like having my whole body wrecked. I enjoy being pounded out, but Being on top.
Downtown, just left downtown.
No, I'm playing. But no, I'm coming into full liberation on being on top as like an orgasm generating thing for me rather than a performative thing.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I'm gonna say bottom. Yeah. I actually am a social dominant, but I love being a sexual submissive. I identify as a switch, so I can actually be a, dominant and submissive person in the same sexual session with someone and kind of go back and forth with that dynamic and power exchange. It really does it for me, and I really love when the partner that I'm with can either be cool with that or just really be into that and understand that, appreciate that, and also be a switch themselves. It creates the most dynamic sexual experience for me. So I would say bottom.
Okay. Are you more preferably the gas or the fire, right? So the gas is like the initiator, but the fire is the one who actually
keeps it burning,
keeps it up.
I'm both on. But I'm the gas. I'm gonna put the battery in your back. I'm gonna get you to think about what you thought was your plan that day and just switch it up for you. You can't be around me physically, especially, and I got a mission on my mind and we don't get to it. It just hasn't filled me yet.
If you got a mission on your mind,
if I got a mission will be accomplished.
Okay, period. For me, I'm the gas, I would say. I'm someone who likes to create an ambiance, and I want to create that with the lighting. I want to create that with the music. I want to create that with the candles, the smells, but I also want you to feel that with your own bodies. I love an extensive drawing out of skin touching, very surface on all the skin. I want your entire body to feel like an erogenous zone when I'm with you, and it creates a space for you to understand that it doesn't have to be your breast or your penis or your butt or your vulva. It can be your arm, it can be your neck, it can be your ear, it can be your calves. I want different experiences for you to finally understand that your body should always feel aroused and always all over. And so I think that that's my goal when I'm ever engaging with someone, when I'm topping someone as a dom, or when I'm engaging with someone sexually as a personal partner. That's my goal, I would say.
Oh, that matters so much. Yes, the limitations we place on ourselves or may place on others, that our erogenous zones are solely the,
sexual reproductive organs.
The sexual reproductive organs is crazy, because this is why people go nuts when people lick toes and shit. Because it's
I do. It's my favorite thing.
I'm not gonna lie, I ain't afraid of toes. I ain't afraid of feet. But there are a lot of people that is.
Yeah.
But it's also because, again, there's that societal boundary that was ingrained in many of our minds, that this isn't associated with the sexual experience, or and we get to build on that. We get to make our own fun in that experience, I think. Now, I'm not licking someone's scalp. Maybe that's one of my
interesting.
I'm just gonna put the weird context out there. No, I'm not a fan of getting in this is what I usually say. I don't get in animal furry costumes.
Okay.
Because that emulates bestiality, and then that's a little sus, I don't want to bang out a bear or bang out a wolf, but sure, in analogy.
Meanwhile,
an analogy, yeah.
Oh, I'll put on some kitty ears and my kitty tail in a minute, baby. Purr.
No.
Big purr. Yeah.
That's cute. I'm just saying, that's cute. I'm saying it goes further than that. And I'm just covering the spectrum. Yeah, no.
Y'all basically got to my last question, which was, what is the zone of pleasure that surprised you that you have?
I am obsessed when someone takes the tips of their fingers and runs it past my mid-thigh, across my knee, and down my shin. I don't know why the shin does it for me, but I'm like, I literally like convulse. And when that's happening while my toes are sucked,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
I'm deceased at this point. I'm dead because I have now reached the pleasure death.
Pleasure death is crazy.
It's doing it for me.
But no, pleasure death is also a thing because that's what brings you to cloud 9. I've been there.
And you came back.
That shit is crazy. No, ooh, you know what? I would say the surprising area. I'm surprised with just how weak. Okay, don't take advantage of this. Anybody that's trying to, talk to me in this deal. I'm surprised by how weak I can get when someone kisses and licks a certain spot on my neck. And there's a certain spot that if you hit, I'm just like, just go. I can't talk. The fuck, like this shit is crazy. So I'm surprised that happens in that way. And I would say choking too surprised me a little bit early on that I would be into that.
Yeah, I guess me too.
Because my first instinct as a very like strong, will, type of woman is like, who you think you is? Like I'll beat you up, I'll beat your ass, like hood training, right? But then it's like in this context where it's become sexual, it's like that brought out the submissive in me that I didn't realize I had in early years.
I can say same.
And then, as years go on, you learn there's a certain way to choke someone.
Oh, yes.
Without me gasping for air.
There's a safety.
So I don't actually die. I go to cloud 9, but not like, not an emergency room.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, we will be coming to a close.
Oh, man.
I know. Looks like we might need a part 2.
Because them last 2 questions, it's getting extra spicy.
So thank you so much for tuning in to episode 30 of Sex Talk with the Sensual Poet, aka Melanie. Thank you all for joining us. It was an amazing set of questions that you all asked. I'm happy that we had this conversation. We can definitely do a part 2 because I'm down for that. I'll be ending, and so for me, you know where to find me. Ayana the Model on all platforms. IYANNATHEMOTEL. On everything.com, at Gmail, on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you want to find me, you can find me at Ayana the Model. And please, Melanie, let us know where we can find you, and if you have any projects coming up, where can they happen?
Yeah, so you can find me in a couple of places. My personal page, at The Sensual Poet, which is here on Instagram. And I also have a lifestyle brand and event services page that I'm building up. It's called The Hookup NYC, where it's helping to bridge this ability for me as both a foodie, an adventurous person, nightlife person, to curate experiences, to show what New York City is all about over the years. So please do follow at The Sensual Poet and at The Hookup NYC. All
right, and with that, we're coming to a close. Love you all. Miss you all. See all the friends come through. You can rewatch this. It will be saved on my page. And until next time, we will be having another sex talk, maybe 2 sex talks on October 1st. The first that is confirmed with Senator Dwight Bullard, who used to be the senator of the state of Florida and had a span of his service for 4 years. So look forward to that, and
potentially part 2.
Potentially part 2 on the horizon. All right, y'all. Love you.
Love y'all. Peace.